Hello friends, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. So today we are looking at my laundry area. So this is what it looked like when we moved in. It was pretty gross, kind of like scary basement vibes. I don't actually think it's scary, but I had hung up those curtains myself. But yeah, it was overall just really like dingy and gross. I wanted to make it look nicer, but I didn't want to spend a lot of money or like do any construction or anything. So I think I spent around $200 total, which I think is pretty good. I think the end result turned out super cute and functional, which is what I like. So yeah, my main inspo, I was looking on Pinterest at lots of different vintage laundry room just to try to get some ideas. I saw this picture and I instantly fell in love. I thought, this is it. I just love it. I think it's super cute. Very like late 60s, early 70s vibes, which is right up my alley. So I went out and I got some pink paint to paint the walls, and instantly that made it so much brighter in there. It was amazing. I get my paint from my local hardware store. So I live in Canada, so people always ask when I show paint like what the colors are. Unless you live in Canada and can go to that hardware store. But the paint was called Candy Necklace, I believe. And I did paint the pipes as well, so it would just blend right in with like the wall color as well. And so I did also see this photo on Pinterest, and I thought, oh, that's a good idea. I should try to do that. So I tried to thrift one of these boxes, but I couldn't find one. So I ended up just getting one from the hardware store. I think it might have been like $15, which is kind of expensive for what it is. But I just used this mint paint that we already had from other things. So I didn't have to spend any money on paint. I use that same mint color paint to paint the stairway going down into the basement, as well as the brick wall at the very bottom of the stairs. So, and then I had some leftover 70s contact paper, so I just covered a piece of foam board, and I thought I could just put that in the very back of it to use it as like a background kind of. And I just got these brackets from the hardware store. They're really inexpensive, like less than $2, but we had to use really tiny screws so that they wouldn't poke through. And then we moved the shelf that was there when we moved in just over our little deep freeze that we have there. You can see it's really gross, but I do end up covering it with more of that contact paper. And then the other two shelves were already at our house when we moved in, like outside in the building, including the brackets. So there's tons of shelves in the building. So I was like, why don't we just reuse those in here? So we did that. And we got the little crate up next to it. I was already just loving how it looked. So the shelves were kind of gross that were outside in the building as well, but I just painted everything pink, the same color, so it would kind of blend in. I painted the brackets as well so that they would blend in. So next I had to tackle this really gross sink. I didn't want to get a new one. I know they're not that expensive, but I'm hoping in the future we can turn this into like an actual room and maybe a half bath with the laundry, and I'll just get a different kind of sink. So I did end up scrubbing really hard. It did come fairly clean in comparison to what it was. And I did buy a few things for this project, so I just got this inexpensive soap dispenser so that we could wash our hands down there at that sink. I did get this shelf liner that you saw. I think I had it on the top shelf down there. And then I did want to get a little towel rack to be able to hang towel after we washed our hands. That was inexpensive at Walmart. This soap dish is vintage and I already had it. I used to make my own laundry detergent and I still had a bar of Sunlight, so I thought I could put that in the little soap dish and use it for like stain removal. So I'd put that on the sink as well. So I don't know, I like the way it turned out. I even painted the sink things pinked because they were gross, but I also got this little tub if I needed to soak something, and it also kind of covers the bottom of that didn't come clean. I also picked up these peel and stick tiles, really inexpensive, from Amazon. to go directly behind the taps, just so that the water and stuff wouldn't be splashing up onto the newly painted walls. And I really like the way it turned out. I like that I could get them in like kind of an aqua-ish mint green color. I tried to look for them, but now they sell them in 10 packs, which is actually a great deal because I think I paid the same for these two. I did thrift this specifically for this project. And then I pulled out of just like boxes of vintage things that I wasn't using anywhere else in the house to kind of decorate down here with. So I have this jug here that I've had for a long time, but I wasn't using it anywhere else. I had these cute little figurines that I also didn't have anywhere to put. I have so much vintage stuff in my house. So, and then I just had a big box filled with like random miscellaneous things. I had a lot of like milk glass stuff in there, some like fake flowers, things like that. So I just went through, I brought the whole box downstairs and just kind of went through everything and see where I could use some things. I wanted to get an ironing board because I didn't have one, and I never had like room for one when I was living in apartments. So I knew I could probably thrift one very easily. So I did find one for $5 at the Salvation Army. I did open it up to make sure that it stood up and everything on its own. It wasn't like faulty in any way. It did have kind of a gross cover, but I did find this very cool, groovy cover on Amazon, also very inexpensive, like less than $20. I thought it matched perfectly with the daisies and the blue color, so I was excited to find that. So I just took off the old one and put this one on, and I think it looks great. I really wanted to find a vintage iron for this, but I just couldn't find one that wasn't rusty in some way, and I didn't want to potentially damage any clothing with that. So I did find this one on Amazon, very inexpensive as well, and I liked that it had the blue like kind of aqua color on it. So I did end up just kind of styling the shelves a little with some things, like I said, that I already had. And I think it looks really cute. I added this shelf that was already in the house as well. I already had the blue shelf for a few years. It was already painted that color too. So I thought, oh, that's perfect. I got the vintage laundry box at an antique store a few months ago, and I actually just use borax. And I think the box is the same for like ever. So I already had the picture as well. And so one thing that I did do in the movie, Edward Scissorhands, in their basement, which I love their basement. Every time I watched the movie, I would notice that she had her taps painted. I tried to kind of zoom in for hot and cold, but it makes them look like flowers. So I did that too. It definitely looks better when they're side by side, but I just wanted to give a little nod to that. I also on Amazon found these light bulb covers, kind of like light shades. Very inexpensive, came in a 2-pack. I really especially wanted to cover the light bulbs down there because I use very bright wattage because it's a basement, so it's dark down there. So they just clip right onto the light bulbs, which is amazing. I think they're around $20, but I especially appreciated it in the stairwell because, when you're walking down the stairs, you're like at eye level with the light bulbs. So it's can be, hard on the eyes. But I love them. They're actually made of plastic, but they look like glass. So on the shelves above our little freezer is where I keep a lot of my laundry supplies and extra cleaning things. So I had made this little box out of plastic canvas for my laundry dryer sheets. I don't use dryer sheets that often, but it's better than the box. I had this vintage clothespin holder, so I actually use it for the clothespins, and I just hung up it was new still when I got it, so I just hung up the little paper that was attached to it on the wall there. So I thought it was cute. And then I already had some of these baskets. They just hold extra cleaning stuff, and I just picked up a couple of more just to keep everything contained and cute looking. So I had this vintage sheet that I thought would make perfect curtains for down there. So I just did a little measuring. I am not the greatest seamstress, but I think they look okay. And it kind of is almost the same style of pattern as the inspiration photo I showed. So I think that they look good. They're better than the sheer curtains I had originally put up there. I thrifted this piece a few years ago and I just hung it up there because the nail was already there, and it ended up working out great because it's right over the sink. So a lot of times we'll hang like mittens or hats in the winter over there if they're wet, so you can just drip into the sink. And I used the rest of my the vintage sheet. I used a bungee cord and made kind of a curtain to go around the sink so it kind of hides the pipes and looks cute, and then the rest of the sheet didn't go to waste. And then I took the rest of the remaining part and I made this little pad for the top of the dryer just so I could put laundry hampers on top and it wouldn't like scratch the paint. So speaking of the dryer, I decided to paint this dryer because it was really gross looking. It was all kind of rusting at the bottom. It's obviously pretty old, just given the look of it, but it did still work. So I just saw no reason to get rid of it until it stops working. So I thought this is the perfect opportunity to try painting an appliance. I thought it would be really cool to paint it the kind of avocado-y green color. I did go with a little bit of a brighter green than avocado just because it is kind of dark down there, so I thought it would be brighter. So John, I love him so much. He is always down for whatever I want to do. So if it's painting the dryer avocado, painting the walls pink, he's just like, okay, let's do it. So he was kind of giving it a little bit of a sand so the paint could adhere to it. And I ended up going with this color, like I said, a little brighter than an avocado green, called Lime Curd. But John actually ended up being the one that painted the dryer for me, so I love him for that. So we just kind of taped it off so that this part would still be there, and then taped off the handle. If I did this again, I would definitely get a electric sander to be able to sand it better and like more deeply. And I believe that you can get some type of coating to go over it that would prevent the paint from, like, the paint is a little delicate on it. But that, like I said, the dryer is really old and it doesn't work that great. It's still working, so we're still using it, but I didn't want to go all in on that, I guess. I'm happy with the way it is because we'll probably have to get a new dryer in the near future. But if I was going to do this again with like new appliances, I would look further into like putting a coating over top so that it didn't scratch off or anything. I love the way it turned out though. I think it actually looks like it was meant to be this color just because it's older dryer. And so lastly, I just wanted to share a little hack I did with the stairwell. So I did end up painting it a mint color. It was looking pretty dingy. The walls were really marked up. And then I also painted, I did hang up a couple of pictures that we already had as well in these vintage frames. But I did paint all of the stairs and the rails and things black. I just thought it looked nicer than the gray. And I wanted to get some stair treads, like carpet stair treads from Amazon, but it turns out they're very expensive for what they are, just strips of carpet. So I actually went and bought these runners for I think $3 a piece and just cut my own stair treads. I just measured the stairs, and these runners actually have, like, they're ribbed, so you could just cut along the rib, and it was perfect. Very easy to cut evenly. Like, I didn't have to keep measuring. I just counted the ridges and then just did it. So it only took maybe 5 minutes. We nailed them down with some black finishing nails that we already had here. So they're very secure to the stairs as well. I did have to just kind of cut a little for the corner pieces here and kind of piece a couple pieces together, but I think it looks great. And I think I only used 3 total, so it cost $9. And I think this carpet treads I looked at were $50. So yeah. And then I also thrifted this sheet that is almost the same color as the paint on the walls, so it kind of blends in, kind of closes that side of the stairwell off. We did also paint the floor. It was like kind of a concrete gray. Painted it white. It definitely brightens it up some, and used runners down here as well. I would have liked to kind of hide or cover the fuse box and all of that, but there's just so many pipes and things. I think it would require some type of construction or something, but I'm not even sure how, because there's so many different pipes and wires going through there. So anyway, here's a bit of an overview. I am obsessed with the way it turned out. I think it's so much cuter. I love that I only had to spend about $200, and probably most of that was on paint, because it's not exactly cheap. But I think it looks so much better than it did. I hadn't looked at the before footage for like a year. I started this over a year ago, and I was blown away at how different it looks, because I'm used to it looking like this for a long time now. So I definitely think it was a huge improvement. I'm very happy with how it turned out. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon.